Good evening and welcome to the May 1st, 2023 regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council. First item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to invite Millie Abdo, our incoming junior mayor, who you're going to meet more in more formal fashion later in this meeting, to lead us in the pledge. If everyone could please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Millie. Next item on our agenda is reflection, and I'd like to call for a moment of silence, please. Thank you all very much. Next, we have approval of minutes. Tonight, there are two sets of minutes before us. What is the pleasure of the council? First is from Monday, April 10th.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the Monday, April 10th minutes.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And do we have?
I will abstain.
We have
Mr.
one
Mayor.
abstention. So that carries 4-0 with one abstention. Councilmember Wu. Next, we have the minutes from the regular meeting on April 17th. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the regular minutes from Monday, April 17.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That carries unanimously. Next, we're going to move on to presentations, and I would like to invite Millie Abdo, our fourth grade student from Fields Road Elementary School, to join me at the podium. All right. So, this is, let me give you a little background on this for those of you who haven't seen before. Each year, the city conducts a junior mayor contest for fourth grade students in conjunction with the statewide If I Were Mayor essay contest sponsored by the Maryland Municipal League and the Maryland Mayors Association and the Chesapeake Employers Insurance Company. This is a great opportunity for students to learn about local government and showcase their creative writing talents. In Gaithersburg, we take it a step further. Students from area schools submit essays to the statewide contest. We take the program on our own, for our own basis, to sort of be the basis for our junior mayor selection. City staff and members of the Educational Enrichment Committee reviewed more than 80 essays from local students and conducted panel interviews for 5 finalists. And so the junior mayor is a role that we originated, I want to say 12 or 13 years ago, something like that. And this student comes with us to all of our public events, has speaking roles, and gets to know a little bit more about how local government works. And we're really proud of it. And so with great pleasure, we welcome our 2023 junior mayor, Millie Abdo, a student at Mrs. Is it Ram? Mrs. Ram. Ms. Ram's fourth grade class at Fields Road Elementary School. And so we're going to swear her in, and then we are going to hear Millie's essay that got her here, got our attention, and obviously she had to interview and stuff as well. So raise your right hand, and then repeat after me. I, and state your name.
I, Millie Abdo,
Do promise
to
faithfully carry out the office of junior mayor
the office of junior mayor
of the greatest city in the world,
of the greatest city in the world,
Gaithersburg, Maryland.
Gaithersburg, Maryland.
And I will,
To
to the best of my ability,
the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and embody
preserve, protect, and embody
the 6 pillars of character counts:
the 6 pillars of character count:
trustworthiness,
respect,
responsibility,
fairness,
caring, and citizenship.
and citizenship.
I promise
I promise
to help educate
to help educate
those in my community
those in my community faithfully
about municipal government,
well
done, and work alongside
our
elected officials, teachers, my classmates, and the community to help make our city a better place to live, work, learn, and play. Congratulations. Okay. All right, do you have a copy of your, do we have a copy of your essay somewhere? Okay, so I'm going to give you a chance to read it.
Okay. Hello, my name is Millie Abdo, and I moved to Gaithersburg with my family in August. I participate in Gaithersburg sports and after-school activities. If I were junior mayor, I would have more after-school activities and sports options because I really enjoy the programs that I've done, and I want them to be available for as many kids as possible. I'd like to support unique activities like horseback riding, live music, drama, art, and cooking classes. If I were junior mayor, I would support the cancer fighters of Gaithersburg. My dad moved to this city because of all the work being done here in oncology. I want to make programs like 5Ks and carnivals, activities to raise awareness for our local cancer hospitals, and many fundraiser events for cancer patients and research. Would put the fundraiser money towards laboratories that are trying to make treatments and tests for all kinds of cancer. If I were junior mayor, I would have anti-bullying programs in schools. When I moved here in August, my brother and I were the new kids at school. We both experienced incidences of bullying, but he had it much worse than I did. The most common bullying he complained about was body shaming, while I experienced mean girl behavior. This is a very painful thing for kids to go through, and we can do more to stop it. I would spend my time as junior mayor creating anti-bullying programs and helping to educate kids in school. Gaithersburg is a great, beautiful city, and I would love to support it by being junior mayor.
So that was awesome. We have a couple things for you. First off, we have your name badge, which you get to wear this at all of the events so people know you're the junior mayor. And, you know, I'll let your parents decide if you can wear it to school and make the kids call you mayor. But here, you get that. And then we also have a gift card for you as junior mayor. So, and it looks like it's to Target. Is that where this is?
Yes.
Okay. So enjoy and congratulations again. Give her another round of applause. Wait. Come back up. We got to do family. Come on up. Let's do a picture. Everybody. Come on up. All right. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Okay. I want to invite the council to come down and join me for this one. Actually, for two things. But first, we're going to proclaim this. Everyone, come on down. We have a proclamation for Municipal Clerks Week, initiated in 1969, the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, and endorsed by all its members throughout the United States, Canada, and 15 other countries. Municipal Clerks Week is a time of celebration and reflection on the importance of the clerk's office. In 1984, President Ronald Reagan signed a proclamation that officially declared Municipal Clerks Week the first full week of May. In 1994 and 1996, President Bill Clinton also signed proclamations confirming Municipal Clerks Week. So I'm going to read this proclamation. We have extra incentive this year well, I'm going to get to that. I don't want to steal the thunder from the next thing here, but here's our proclamation on behalf of the Mayor and City Council of Gaithersburg. Whereas the office of Municipal Clerk is a vital part of local government that exists throughout the world and provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and the agencies of government at other levels. And whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and serving as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the importance of the office of the municipal clerk, now therefore I, Judd Ashman, by the power vested in me as mayor of Gaithersburg, do hereby proclaim the week of April 30 through May 6, 2023 as Municipal Clerks Week in the city of Gaithersburg, and further extend appreciation to our own municipal clerk and our assistant municipal clerk. Over here. I was looking for you over there where I saw you sitting before, for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Proclaim this first day of May 2023 and signed by me. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, stay here, council. So every year, John, do you want to do the background on this? Okay, we have a very special announcement here, and I'm going to invite John to make this statement. Open us up here.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Hodson. I'm the town clerk with the town of Upper Marlboro, and it's an honor to be here tonight, Mayor Ashman and city council members, to honor your city clerk, Doris Stokes. First off, we every year in the Maryland Municipal Clerks Association, we go ahead and honor a Clerk of the Year. It's a prestigious award that we provide every year within the organization. And I first want to thank the nominating committee for the Clerk of the Year this year, which was President Deshaun Lanham from the city of Seat Pleasant, Yvette Allen from the city of College Park, Diana Chavis from the town of Ocean City, and Kim Nichols with the city of Salisbury. I also want to thank Michelle for orchestrating the events this evening by having me here. So Doris was nominated by two of her peers within MMCA, and I just want to take a moment to read the letter that was provided to me into the record. We would like to submit for consideration of the 2023 MMCA Clerk of the Year, Doris Stokes, City Clerk for the City of Gaithersburg. Ms. Stokes has served the City of Gaithersburg for over 28 years and meets the criteria many times over for years of dedicated service. Doris is a committed, long-serving member of the Maryland Municipal Clerks Association. She has served as Vice President for MMCA from 2018 until 2020 and has been a part of the Regional 2 Conference Planning Committee in 2024, 2018, and in 2023. Doris was very instrumental in the 2018 Regional 2 Conference that was held in our municipality, Gaithersburg. Doris is a vital member of the association. She engages, welcomes, and encourages all new members. She brings her many years of knowledge in municipal government to the association and shares her ideas, best practices, and understanding of the Maryland Municipal Clerk's role and responsibilities. Doris has managed her work expectations during the pandemic and has inspired many with her can-do attitude. Doris works to provide continued excellent customer service to her colleagues in Gaithersburg and has been instrumental in moving them into the future with the digital packets. Doris is Doris. She is always pleasant, engaging, and has an all-around can-do attitude. She has proven to many through the years of her dedication not only to the MMCA, but to the Maryland Municipal League and the International Institute for Municipal Clerks Association is unwavering. Doris Stokes is an example to all of us and what makes a successful municipal clerk. It is only fitting that she be considered for the 2023 Maryland Municipal Clerks Association Clerk of the Year Award, signed by Douglas Barber, City Clerk for the City of Westminster, and Awilda Hernandez from the City of Bowie. It is my honor tonight to present the Clerk of the Year for 2023 to your municipal clerk, Doris Stokes.
Oh boy, I'm extremely humbled on receiving this award. Very hard for me to receive. I'm usually on the other end. So I'm grateful. Thank you. Thank you to this wonderful council, mayor and city council that stands behind me. They make it easy. They really do. This is a wonderful governing body of Gaithersburg, Maryland. You really do have advocates for its residents. And I appreciate all the support and the opportunity to grow here at Gaithersburg in my 28 years here. It's kind of bittersweet to leave, but just feel like it's time to pass the torch to someone else. But it really has been a wonderful, wonderful learning experience for me, and I'm just very appreciative of this award. Seen many, just want to say, I think five city managers and three mayors. I think three mayors, and then the council coming and going. And it's been wonderful just to participate in the transition that occurs to do the work of local government. Thank you very much. I appreciate this.
You're gonna love.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
John.
One more picture.
She's not retiring until September. Just a reminder.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you hang out. Okay. And I want to invite, we're doing the Proclamation for Older Americans Month. I want to invite Jean Didwitty and Charlene Simpson to join us at the podium. And Lisa's going to read the background material.
Every May, the Administration on Aging, part of the Administration for Community Living, leads our nation's observance of Older Americans Month. The 2023 theme, Aging Unbound, which offers an opportunity to explore diverse aging experiences and discuss how communities can combat stereotypes and promote flexible thinking about aging. The city will once again be partnering with the Montgomery County Commission for the annual Active Aging Expo, scheduled for Thursday, May 4th at the Activity Center at Bullard Park from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. The day will include interactive demonstrations, preventive screenings, and educational lectures. Valuable information will also be provided by over 50 different businesses, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations in attendance. The recipient of tonight's proclamation is Dr. Jean Dinwiddie. Since retiring as a pharmacist, Jean has become an active volunteer in issues concerning older adults. She is currently the chair of the Gaithersburg Senior Advisory Committee. She also serves as a commissioner on the Montgomery County Commission on Aging, producer of cable TV show 50 Plus in Montgomery County, and co-leader in the Age Friendly Montgomery Initiative. In her spare time, Jean is the T-Shock, thank you, president of the O'Maloney Society and the Lamy Championship at the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy, and ushers at Ford's Theater. Jean's passion for helping older adults contributes to making the city of Gaithersburg a great place to live. Congratulations.
All right. Proclamation of the Mayor and City Council of Gaithersburg. Whereas the city of Gaithersburg includes a thriving community of more than 12,000 residents over the age of 55. And whereas the active older adults who live, work, and participate in Gaithersburg programs deserve recognition for their positive impact on the culture, economy, and character of our community. And whereas older adults in our community have made and will continue to make countless contributions and sacrifices to ensure a better life for future generations. And whereas the city of Gaithersburg is committed to helping all individuals live longer and healthier lives by promoting activity, wellness, socialization, and education. Now, therefore, I, Judd Ashman, by the power vested in me as the mayor of Gaithersburg, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Older Americans Month in the city of Gaithersburg, supporting this year's theme, Communities of Strength, which encourages older adults to share their stories and contributions to help support and inspire others. Proclaim this first day of May 2023 and signed by me. And thank you, Dr. Jean Dinwiddie, for receiving this.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to bring Councilmember Wu to read the background material for our proclamation for Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and I'd like to invite the members of the Multicultural Affairs Committee to join us up here, and Dorothy Winder from our staff as well. Whoever would like to join us up here, please come on up.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Calling Samira Hussein to the podium. Start moving. Okay, Asian and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Americans are part of the rich tapestry of American life in both our country and the city of Gaithersburg. The city has hired Ruth Lutero, a Filipino heritage, as the recently appointed Director of Information Technology. Not sure why that's significant, but obviously we're happy she's here. The city of Gaithersburg recognizes Asian and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander Americans throughout the month of May with many opportunities to learn about their culture, history, and contributions to including film screening and a folk dance social at the Benjamin Gaither Center, a tasty books by Leal Cook's doll cooking class at Casey Community Center, and an educational art display at the Activity Center presented by the Multicultural Affairs Committee. Please visit the City of Gaithersburg website for more information. Receiving this year's proclamation is Dr. Gary Lee. Dr. Lee has been working and living in Gaithersburg since he first came to the Maryland to join Dr. Robert Gallo's laboratory, NCI, at NIH in 1991. In addition to his busy professional job, he has been involved with and participates in numerous community events, activities, and organizations. In 2008, he was elected president of the Chinese Alumni Association in the greater Washington, D.C. area. He established the U.S. Association of Students and Scholars of Guangxi in 2002, which has grown to be the largest and most active community of Guangxi students and Guangxi residents. Mr. Lee has many achievements to list, so the following are just a small example of his achievements and contributions to our local community. 2009, Mr. Lee was instrumental in arranging a commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the China-U.S. Peace and Friendship with an inauguration ceremony for a bronze statue of the Tree of Peace, a sculpture by Mr. Han Mei Lin, a well-known Chinese art master and the father of the Olympic Fuwa for 2008 Beijing Olympic Games and donated by Beijing Overseas Chinese Federation. The event co-sponsored by CAAGW and Beijing Overseas. Queen Kei Fang to bring the Third Sister Lu Chinese performance to Montgomery County. Mr. Lee has provided interpretation for Montgomery County Executive Mark B. Elrich as he presented information in the 2023 budget forum. The CAAGW and the ASSGX was on the front line in the fight against COVID-19. Dr. Lee led the fight for these organizations by generously donating and working to solicit thousands of dollars in donations from CCAGW and ASSGX. Dr. Lee also collected and distributed supplies to fight against COVID-19, such as masks and thermometers to many students and residents in Montgomery County.
Okay, proclamation of the Mayor and City Council of Gaithersburg. Whereas Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month celebrates the achievements of this diverse group that make up 7% of the U.S. population and 19% of the city of Gaithersburg's population. And whereas Montgomery County is home to a thriving Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander heritage community, whose valued presence has added to the rich cultural mosaic of our community, and whereas Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander heritage reflects a culture with a strong commitment to family, economics, and educational achievements, and have distinguished themselves as leaders in research in science, medicine, and technology, in the arts, literature, armed forces, education, and sports. And whereas it is culturally and geographically rich and diverse, encompassing 47 countries and territories, including China, Korea, Japan, Indonesia, Russia, Vietnam, Thailand, Afghanistan, India, Nepal, and Armenia. Now, therefore, I, Judd Ashman, by the power vested in me as Mayor of Gaithersburg, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2023 as Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the city of Gaithersburg. Proclaim this first day of May 2023 and signed by me. Let's give them a round of applause. Get closer, guys. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Okay. Last of a series of proclamations. This is more proclamations than we generally have. Just so for those of you guys who are not here that often, we are going to proclaim Historic Preservation Month in the city of Gaithersburg. I'd like to invite Planning and Code Administration staff and Historic District Commission members to join me up here as they wish. May is Historic Preservation Month when the city commemorates the significant surviving remnants from its past and the people who work tirelessly to steward these special places. The city has two events planned at the May 24th Historic District Commission meeting. The commission will honor the following people. In 2018, a large tree fell on the home of Megan and Phil Wessel at 102 Chestnut Street and caused extensive damage. The replacement rear addition they designed and built both met the needs of their young family and was sensitive to the historic character of their more than 100-year-old home. Next door at the Martha Meem house, Leanne and Robert Feist peeled off the aluminum cladding to reveal the original wood siding on the circa 1879 house in this exceptional restoration project. The historic house at the England Crown Farmstead was vacant for many years before Jill Matthews purchased the property in 2021, and she and her design team embarked on a stunning rebirth of the home. Also at Crown Farm, the corn crib was an eyesore for many years before the city assumed ownership and hired Thaler Riley Wilson Architecture and Preservation and contractor GW Management Services to bring it back to life. Thanks to the great work of these contractors, the corn crib will be the focal point of the city park being planned for that property. And then on May 31st, representatives from the Maryland Historical Trust will present the city with the Maryland Preservation Award in the category of Outstanding Stewardship by a government agency for the city's rehabilitation of the corn crib. So we're excited about that. And our proclamation on behalf of the mayor and council, whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for encouraging sustainable growth and development, revitalizing neighborhoods, capitalizing on existing building stock, and fostering our city's sense of place, pride, and character. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for both the city of Gaithersburg and for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, of all walks of life, and of all ethnic backgrounds. And whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible and intangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as a community, city, state, and nation. Now, therefore, I, Judd Ashman, by the power vested in me as mayor of Gaithersburg, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Historic Preservation Month in the city of Gaithersburg and call upon the people of Gaithersburg to join in recognizing and participating in this special observance. Proclaim this first day of May 2023 and signed by me. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, back to business. I'll just point out that our junior mayor is already wearing her name tag, and that makes me really happy. Okay, next on our agenda is public comments. Okay. It's public comments. This is the time that the mayor and council like to hear from anybody who'd like to speak on any topic that's not a public hearing topic. Tonight we do have one public hearing, so if you're here to speak about the outdoor dining pier at Rio, just hold off. We're going to get to that next. But if you'd like to speak on anything else, we ask that you come on up to the podium, state your name and address or neighborhood for the record. We ask that you keep your comments to no more than 3 minutes. If you have more than 3 minutes worth of material to deliver, by all means, use your 3 minutes and send us the rest in writing. Come on up. And go right ahead.
Very good. I'm Tony Litz with Victor Litz Music Center, city, longtime city resident and business owners and whatnot. We're here to talk about and just bring to light, if there could be, the Fishman property, Old Town Gaithersburg, and ironically it's Historic Preservation Month, whatnot, has been at least six years in the making to put up possibly a 5-story high-rise, if you will. For me, that's going to be a high-rise. But to take away what little bit of parking might be, but the Fishman property being a vacant grass spot, we've been asking for it to possibly be converted to parking. If it's been 6 years so far to get this apartment building or condos built, it's going to take another 6 years. Our downtown merchants could surely use the space for parking. It's really, really tough, especially on weekends and especially, there's busy times and not so busy times. There's a commuter train. Everyone's using that parking lot, the little parking lot that there is. But quite a while ago, I was involved with Plaza being built and presented, and it was like, hey, can we connect this parking lot to that parking lot? That's the answer to at least our individual problems, but the merchants downtown. And I'm asking if there's anything that be considered to get that parking lot, maybe put a stop to the high rise, and I'm sure there's a lot of developers involved going, whoa, wait a minute, don't do that. But if it's going to be another 6 years before anything is built, let's use it as a temporary parking solution to the next 5 years, 6 years, however long it's going to take. That's pretty much what we have to say, and I'm sure any other of the merchants in Old Town would love to see some parking expanded. So, thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay, thank you.
Please come on up.
Honorable Mayor and esteemed members of the Gaithersburg City Council, for the record, Scott Weber, and although I'm a former resident of the uncity of Bethesda at 8803 Seven Locks Road, I do spend a lot of time here in this beautiful city, and I have the honor of having hung out with just about every one of you on numerous times, on any number of occasions over the many years. I'm here today to both applaud you for your achievement, yet again, for being recognized as one of the top 5 most culturally diverse cities in the entire country. I did not grow up in such a rich environment. Where I grew up in the middle of Indiana, it was 98.7% white Anglo-Saxon Protestant males. There was not one temple, not one synagogue, not one mosque. I did know one Jew, but they were non-practicing. My town was not entirely white. I did go to a big high school. We had several thousand. My class had black students as well, and I knew both of them. Lafayette was a desert of diversity, and I longed for something more of a lush forest, so I came to Maryland. I developed a specialized major at the University of Maryland College Park in their honors program called Global Dynamics, and it was a complex mix of ethnic studies, non-governmental diplomacy, and conflict management, because I wanted to be a world peacemaker. As part of my studies, I came to be aware of many of the planet's conflicts, the horrible ways we as humans often treat each other, the violence, the hatred, the injustice, and the inhumanity. I'm a Weber. I'm a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant male of German descent. I've got one rather noted cultural event that I was not personally a part of, but from which I cannot escape my direct association. Events took place in Europe that changed, or should have changed, the course of history to impart upon all persons of any decency, civility, and humanity a never again that would always be honored. I vowed for the rest of my life that I would do all I could reasonably do to fight such an inhumanity and to point out, call out, shout out, and wipe out any such blight before it ever happened again. For as much as some events are blamed on just one individual or on a small faction, the real fact of the matter is that it was, in my opinion, more than the failure of the masses to stop the atrocities before they ever became the atrocities that we can now talk about. I'm going to stop at this point only to ask each of you, if you ever become aware of any such movement towards religious or cultural or racial hatred or supremacy, if you see any festering of authoritarianism or even in the acceptance of such behavior, that you'll recognize it for the evil that it is and will not only refuse to be complicit, will actively work against any such hate movements, and that you will applaud and support anybody who has the courage to speak out against it. Your diversity here is absolutely precious, so let's all work together, please, as one united global community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One 16216 Frederick Road. My name is Peter Friedrich, and good evening. As we celebrate tonight how the city of Gaithersburg just declared May to be Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month, let us remember that America is and must remain a safe haven for refugees who are yearning to be free. That is exactly how and why a substantial number of our country's Asian American population came here. And today, not only do people of Indian origin make up our second largest Asian American population, but growing numbers are currently coming to the U.S. to find refuge from the rapidly rising ethno-nationalist violence in India. As I have been talking with Marylanders of Indian origin backgrounds, the recurring theme in all of our conversations is that they are deeply concerned, not just about the religious nationalist movement that has taken over India, but also and even especially about how that fascist movement in India rose to power with the assistance of affiliates based in the U.S. along the East Coast and in Maryland itself. The violence in India is primarily driven by a paramilitary called the RSS and by the RSS's political wing, the BJP. Well, here in America, the RSS has a wing called the HSS, and the BJP has a wing called the Overseas Friends of the BJP. And so this, then, is where the issue of concern strikes all the way home to right here in the city of Gaithersburg. You see, the HSS's leaders and members do not just confine themselves to aiding and abetting the RSS's fascist agenda back in India. The HSS also routinely approaches city and county governments around the U.S., including in Maryland, to solicit a platform, a proclamation praising it, and the resulting legitimization that comes from that. You see, the overseas friends of the BJP do not just confine themselves to aiding and abetting the BJP's grasp for political power back in India, but OFBJP activists routinely also reach out to American politicians like yourselves to share the stage with them or even to donate to their campaigns. Now, elected officials here in Gaithersburg need to be on the alert in case they or the city are approached by such entities. It's an all too real possibility, after all. For example, look at the case of Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller. Leaders from both the OFBJP and the HSS have repeatedly interacted with her, hosted her for events, and donated extensively to her campaigns. Yet the sad reality is that Aruna Miller has staunchly refused to disassociate from these groups. However, now that the city of Gaithersburg stands forewarned about the nature of such groups, I trust that city leaders will exercise more discretion than Aruna has and preemptively avoid associating with the U.S. branches of fascist organizations in India, which are currently committing atrocities against Indian Christians, Muslims, and others. And I have here, for every member of the council, a short information packet about this issue.
Table there. Do we have any other testimonies tonight? Come on up.
Good evening. David Mullins, Gateway Apartments here in Gaithersburg. I have come to continue the conversation about rent stabilization, and I appreciate you hearing me last meeting. And I appreciate our good mayor connecting offline with some information I was able to review. And so I will just spend a minute in the weeds there. I think it was Mr. Pagnucco, I think his name is, quite the curator of anti-stabilization, if I may, data. And look, that's fine. And so I dug into. I was looking at some of the reports that he mentions, and this is called the Diamond Study. It's also called the Stanford Study sometimes. And I've seen it come up with the council discourse, the county council discourse too some. So I want to go ahead and just mention that it's deeply flawed. And here's why. Because the conclusion is that rents are going to go up if you do rent control, because there's going to be less stock. And they found that because they studied a sample that converted to condos and got knocked down. People decided to knock down and convert to condos because they had done rent control. That's the part they say loud. The part that they say quiet is they studied only 1 to 4 unit complexes, okay? I think you don't have to be a housing expert to know that the logistics are a little different for condo conversion, for knocking a place down when it's the size of some houses versus a giant building. So again, like there's weeds on both sides, and for the public, I do want to point out the weeds on the other side. A great resource is Michael Bodakin. He's a professor of public policy at the University of Maryland. Back on March 28th, he testified at the county council about rent stabilization. And he's also the former deputy mayor of Los Angeles, focused on housing there. So he has a good curation, I would call it, too, there. But at the end of the day, he's willing to say, he was on the Renters Alliance thing recently, and he was actually responding to some of these things that I brought to his attention. And at the end of the day, there's data on both sides. I think maybe we'll want to ask why we're looking out for certain data, and maybe just make that a little more public. And so I would hope that first of all, we can have an open mind going forward on this. And I want to bring to your attention the fact that the Rockville City Council moved on the voluntary guidelines. There might have been some misunderstanding last time. They didn't adopt them as an enforcement. Like they're still voluntary. They just kind of re-up the county's voluntary guidelines. Which again, when my neighbors are reaching out, I had to drive by a pile of stuff here again from an eviction just to come to this meeting. Okay, my neighbors, when they're getting these increases, could really use just even something to point to voluntarily. And again, I checked. The Colta didn't bring that. It was a kind of a sua sponte council thing in Rockville. So, just throwing it out there would be great.
Thank you, David.
Thanks.
Do we have any other testimonies tonight?
Hello, my name is Carl Van Est. I'm a 30-year proud resident of Gaithersburg. I live 52 Redding Ridge Drive. I've been reflecting on things recently, and I wanted to say I think your character counts program is so important. I appreciate that the themes seem to be riddled through your city. Today, I want to talk about respect. Whenever I talk to someone in the city, that's what I get is respect. They always respond to me kindly, and we may disagree about things, but your team always is honest and respectful. I love talking to Mark Scafidi. I talked to him twice, I emailed him twice today. Tanisha, Dennis, Michael Wand. I love going to Boer Park, your office at Rabbit Run, and here. Everyone treats me so well. I greatly appreciate it. If only all cities could be riddled with respect. There's still garbage along West Side Drive. I'm sorry about that. When I drive around, it seems to be worse in my world than any other place. I've heard at one point that the garbage cans were present, but they were getting filled up with home garbage. So we discontinued their use. So maybe we should have an anti-litter campaign in that area. I don't know. The garbage flows downhill to the Muddy Branch and into our stream. There are plenty of well-placed garbage cans in Malcolm King Park, right down the hill. And those are emptied regularly. The city does a great job there. I know Mark Scafidi's team tries to clean up along West Side Drive several times a week, but garbage still persists. So what can we do there? Lastly, I've gotten some information from Rockville, and it showed that they were putting down salt in the parks after a snowstorm, during a snow emergency. Okay. And so I talked to Mark about this, and Mark said, well, yeah, we do that here in Gaithersburg too. Whenever there's an activity field or a building nearby, it seems to me that putting down salt in a park is kind of the wrong message. I mean, we should go ahead and plow, but if it's a snow emergency, maybe we can close down the park for a couple days during the snow emergency until the ice melts. And the ice melts pretty quickly here in Gaithersburg. So in any case, thank you. Oh, they put down tons of salt in Rockville. A ton of salt can fill up a back of a truck. Okay, so it's a sizable amount of salt. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who'd like to testify this evening? Not seeing anybody. Let me just check and see if there's anybody on Zoom. I do not see anybody there. So appreciate all the feedback and testimonies. I'm going to invite the Planning Commission to join us, and we're going to jump into our public hearing, joint public hearing. All yours.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is a joint public hearing on Schematic Development Plan Application SDP-9462-2022. The subject property, as shown on the screen here, is the approximately 18.09 acre Rio Washingtonian lake parcel, which is generally bounded by I-270 to the north, Boardwalk Place to the south, and Rio Boulevard to the west. The subject property is currently improved with the Rio Washingtonian Lake, green area parks, and some trails. The applicant is requesting to construct an approximately 1,012 square feet of restaurant space for Copper Canyon Grill, which will be located on a pier in the Rio Washingtonian Lake. The property received sketch plan approval with the Fifth Amendment to Annexation Agreement X-159 on November 19, 2018. The joint public hearing was duly advertised on April 13th, 2023, and April 20th, 2023, in the Washington Post, and has been advertised on the city's website since April 11th, 2023. The subject property was also properly posted with public hearing signs on April 11th, 2023. At the present time, there are 19 exhibits in the record file. These exhibits are referenced in an index of memoranda in the file. The individual exhibits may be reviewed during the course of the meeting or in the Planning, Code, and Administration office during regular business hours, at City Hall, or on the city's website. Any objections to the receipt of any exhibit should be noted prior to the closing of the record. Otherwise, they will be deemed received into evidence. And here to introduce the application is Matt Clark, Senior Associate and Project Manager with ARIA Group.
Thank you, Sam. Mayor, council members, planning commission members, thank you for your time. Thank you for hitting Control L.
Sure.
So the Sam did a wonderful job of giving an introduction to this. So as he described, we're looking at introducing basically a floating seating area that is going to be open air with a cover on the existing lake adjacent to the restaurant. Just as an introduction, we're out of Oak Park, Illinois. We've worked previously with our client who owns the Copper Canyon Grill, actually at Stanford Grill in Rockville, Maryland. Had they're a wonderful client to work for, and we appreciate this opportunity. And we've been greatly helped, in addition to Sam, by Dan Figueroa, who's here behind me with the Peterson Companies as well. So sorry, the lights are make me a little nervous. But anyway, the intent is to add to the character of the existing development. In addition to working on this barge, we're also looking to basically just add a little bit of energy at this corner of the lake and just make this an even more welcoming place to come and have a meal with your family. Moving on to this, so in particular, the location is near the existing bridge that goes across the lake. It's going to be highly visible in the development. Getting into more of the specifics, we're well under the floor area ratio at 0.03%. It's basically the 1,000 square feet and change and 30,000 square feet. We are more than exceeding the land green space requirements for this area by a large margin. Parking is also we're within parking requirements, and we have a very minimal site disturbance. Moving on to the plan. So it's basically a seating area. It's going to have 59 occupants, not including staff. There's no potable water on there, so there's not going to be a bar out on this seating area. It's going to primarily consist of just loose tables and chairs with one little fixed drink rail to allow for views over the lake while you're standing there. As I stated, the sides themselves are open, so it is fully open air. We're not going to be conditioning the air. It's going to be just natural breezes and fans to kind of move air on stagnant days. Lighting is going to consist of commercial grade string lights with some additional lights as needed potentially for service and to meet health code requirements. I'm going to take a step back though. The only other thing in addition to the seats and the seating and the counter at the left side is just a service station. Other than electric, the only utilities being brought out here are basically water for a fire sprinkler, which will be routed underneath the pier at the gangway and then make its way into the barge itself. The barges themselves are going to be pinned together and locked in place with spud wells. They're going to be permanently anchored to the shore, split by two gangways, one for public use and one for service. In an emergency, both will serve as emergency exits. The roof is a simple open gabled roof, which basically borrows some cues from the existing building and what we plan to do to it in the future. And then the roof structures, and we're expressing a truss. We're creating a frame to kind of ground everything together, and the steel barge itself is being clad with treated wood suitable for the damp environment that it'll be present in. And then we also provided some 3D views as well to better illustrate the character of what we're trying to achieve here. That is the extent of the presentation, introducing the seating area for Gobber Canyon Grill.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Questions or comments from Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. I salute the creativity, and we're always interested to see what new interesting things are being proposed. I just had a couple of sort of functionality questions, just to better understand how this space is going to operate. So, in terms of the sort of the space or the surface space that it would take up on the lake, is there, in your understanding, any impact on the functionality of the lake itself, either as a stormwater retention facility or in terms of other activities that might be going on the lake? Obviously, we have things like paddle boats, and they'll just have to sort of go around it if it's built, and it doesn't take up much room, as you said. But in terms of any other functionality of the lake, are there any other impacts that you foresee?
That's a fair question. It's going to have basically a very minimal impact on the body of water's ability to store water in a storm event. It will be an impediment to any boating activity, but it is a very small one. The overall, the platform proper is 43 feet by 24 feet, which in the greater scale of the body of water, which you can see here, is relatively minor. So we've tried to keep it as close to shore as possible while providing the flexibility needed in the gangways to rise and lower slightly as the lake levels rise, and still meet ADA requirements.
Okay. And then in terms of the service gangway, I assume that's close to some sort of building entrance that servers are going to be able to go in and out of in the restaurant. I'm trying to visualize, I'm very familiar with that area, but I'm trying to visualize where they would come in and out of in order just to make it not be too disruptive for folks walking along the boardwalk there.
Yes. So there's an existing back patio here, so that'll be the primary route for servers going to and from the restaurant. It's also why we located the service gangway pretty much adjacent to that area.
Right. Do you envision any kind of host stand in the guest gangway or on the other side of the guest gangway, or will, again, I know this is a little bit in the weeds of operations, but I'm just trying to understand how it's proposed to work, or will folks come into the main restaurant to be then seated in this section?
In our conversations with the client, they've indicated that people go to the restaurant first and then be seated out here. Okay. If from a service standpoint that becomes an issue, there is flexibility with this design to introduce a small host stand as well.
Okay. And you mentioned, final question, you mentioned that the barge is anchored, but at the same time there is some flexibility built in for the gangways to go up and down, so it does have the potential for a little bit of, I guess, rocking, for lack of a better technical word. In other words, how fixed is it in the anchoring?
We are fixing it with 4 spuds that are going to embed into the lake. So I've been told about 10 to 15 feet. So it's going to be pretty permanent unless they're removed.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Any other? Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. One question on packet page 42, I think. It made mine too big, I can't see. On 42, thank you. It shows that there are folks standing on the gangway. Is that meant to be a gathering place, and how many people could it hold?
That was an artistic license taken with the placement of people in the rendering. So it is purely meant as passage. That being said, I would not be surprised if someone paused for a moment to have a conversation with someone, but it's not meant as a permanent gathering place.
Okay. Thank you.
Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to follow up something that Ryan was asking, because it's referred to both as a pier and a barge. So I just want to make sure it's not going to be floating. It's going to be fixed into the ground, correct?
It is going to be floating, but what holds it in place will be fixed into the ground.
Okay. So will there be any issues as far as weight requirements for how much this barge will be able to carry?
We haven't fully engaged a marine engineer yet, so basically, it's our understanding that this barge has well above the capacity needed for a dining load, plus the roof structure. I mean, for dining, we're looking at 100 pounds per square foot live load, plus the weight of everything that sits on top of it, which is still going to be significantly less than a crane that it was used for previously to work on the lake and elsewhere.
Okay. And this may not be a question that you can answer because it's beyond your client, but do we anticipate that this would be a precedent for the other restaurants that are along the lake, particularly some of the new ones that are scheduled to be opening or ones that have already been there for a while and may see this as an opportunity to expand their footprint as well?
We've had a very preliminary conversation with another restaurant on that lake, but absolutely nothing is solidified. So whether it's going to set a precedent or not, I don't feel that I'm qualified to answer that, but it could potentially.
No, that's all I have. Thank you.
Neil, and then Rob.
Yeah, I don't know if this is an important question, but I'm curious, since this is going to be a barge that floats, are you going to be required to provide typical marine safety equipment?
Yes, we are, and that came up during the initial review. So this is going to be fully sprinklered and have a standpipe per the I forget the specific codes requirements, but it is a requirement for floating water structures in this area.
Life jackets and things too, or no?
Do you know, honestly, we haven't gotten that far into it. There probably will be a flotation device that'll be required on the barge in case of an emergency. But since it's not a boat in motion, I don't believe, but I'm not 100% certain if that requires life jackets.
I'd be shocked if they hit an iceberg.
Shocked. Is that going to be a decision point for anybody up here?
There could be an accident or something.
I can state, though, with confidence that once we do get into the fully architectural and engineer drawings of this, that it will be designed in full compliance with the code. So if that is a code requirement, then we will address it in some manner.
All right, thank you.
Rob.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. Curious if you've looked into, since it's not going to be piered, it's going to be floating, the vertical movement with the water.
We've had, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have more to your question?
Up and down.
Well, thank you. I was just going to deal with the down. In our conversations with the landlord, they, in their data, they've indicated that the lake will rise and lower maybe by a couple inches per year. So we are providing a little bit of extra length in the gangways. Should it be a little bit more than that? So we are trying to account for that in the length of the gangways, so that the gangways themselves don't exceed a 1 in 12 slope per ADA requirements.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just my own observations. I'm not a marine geologist or anything like that. It seems that there's water flow in the summer months, but in the winter months, and I don't know if this will be open in the winter months, it drops significantly as the lake freezes over, because you can see exposure of the particularly on that side of the bed. And so I'm wondering, is this going to be a 365? And if so, I'd be concerned about seeing the movement of the structure with the water that's supporting it. And then my other, sorry, that was just a comment. I think you've answered my question. The other is following up on kind of what Councilmember McNulty was saying, and I understand the applicant can't answer, but I'd be curious to see, has this been, has this subject been broached before? Do we have records of other tenants or the developer itself coming in and requesting, piering type stuff? I know they've got the boats.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I know they have the boats down to the right, and I know they've got the piered structure where you feed the ducks off to the left. But I'm wondering if this has been something we've.
So I don't want to put the applicant on the spot.
No,
with
that's
that.
why I
want to. John Schlichting, you want to come up and. There's a couple questions in the council about precedent this would be setting and what other restaurants might want to do this in the Rio Lake, and can you give us a staff perspective on have we gotten these requests and what we expect in the future with these requests?
I'm not aware of any instance where we got a request like this in the past, and we don't have any knowledge of anything coming down the pike either.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My concern is that the construction of this thing is going to be open on all sides. Winds pick up. there's going to be a lot of litter that could be blown into the lake. Do you have any provisions to clean up the lake or to provide for sanitary conditions to keep the lake clean?
That subject was broached recently with ownership. They would have to speak to that personally. I don't know what their plan is, but I know it is a concern of theirs.
Okay, so at some point in the future, we will hear of a response from the applicant regarding what to do in case a windstorm comes up and you've got napkins floating all over the place and all other debris, because that is a concern.
No, understandably, we don't want to contribute to the litter, do anything that would contribute to the litter in this area.
I would like to see a plan then at some point, future point, before we approve this regarding that.
Anyone else?
Is that gentleman from Peterson want to add something?
Yeah, you come on up. Please come to the microphone, please.
Good evening, Dan Figueroa, Peterson Companies. To address the question, we do have maintenance staff that works on the lake. During storms, we get tons of debris in there, whether it be natural debris or litter or sometimes chairs or whatnot. But we do regularly maintain that lake, and we will do such, for this barge.
So the burden, the onus isn't on the restaurant itself. It's the onus is on the
correct.
management. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Go ahead, Sharon.
Thanks. I'm just concerned about the people in terms of weather. So if there's thunder and lightning and there's, weather issues outside, do you have closures? Is it different than a restaurant, considering it is covered?
Yes.
But it is on a body of water, so I'm just wondering if there are any special provisions for that.
If it's light weather, much as you were sitting outside, you'd still be able to. If it is dangerous inclement weather that requires people to take shelter, the barge would have to be emptied. In terms of a formal procedure, as the architect, we have not developed anything for that yet. Given the early part of this, we haven't proceeded into fully engineered drawings yet or full code research. But we are aware of the concern, and the possibility of enclosing this was discussed very early on in the process, and it's not the client's desire at that time.
Okay.
I think my only question / statement is that the end goal of tonight's hearing will be motions to hold records open and a further discussion with the planning commission. At least from a planning standpoint, I'd like to hear a little bit more operationally from the actual restaurant operator, because my one and only concern here is that boardwalk, especially at peak times in the evening, is jam-packed with traffic going in both directions, and I'm picturing servers with trays full of drinks and food trying to dash back and forth, and the number of unintentional collisions and ruined evenings that are going to happen as everyone's drinks go flying. So I just, planning-wise, I understand it, but from an operational standpoint, I think we have like to understand a little bit more when it comes back to us.
The hawk signal.
That's funny. Matt?
No, nothing for me, other than just a side note to say that, I think we are setting a precedent to some degree. I think we already have examples of it on the lake right now, just not the same use, but architecturally similar. The barges are what they are. I wouldn't question them too much. And then I agree with Phil only in the sense that we created what is essentially a racetrack around the lake, and so I think breaking that racetrack is going to take some social engineering of a type to sort of slow everyone down. I don't have any heartburn over slowing everyone down or creating an atmosphere where there's a lot of vibrancy or chaos. So it can be a lot of fun, and I think for this kind of environment, it's actually a plus. So, but that's my aside.
Traffic light.
Yeah, traffic light. It could be fun. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is the time the mayor and council and planning commission would like to hear from anybody from the public who'd like to testify on this matter. Same rules as before. 3 minutes. State your name and address or neighborhood. Do we have anybody who'd like to testify tonight on this? I'm not seeing anyone here. Let me just take a look on Zoom. Still nobody in our Zoom room. So, we have a testimony.
So I just have a question. You said there's...
Carl, let's go through the whole thing.
My name's Carl Van Est. I live at 52 Redding Ridge Drive, Gaithersburg, Maryland. My question is the impact on green space. You mentioned that term, green space. It looks like we have a lot of open space here. I don't know where the green space comes in. So If that could be clear, I'd appreciate it. Thank
Would
you.
you mind, yeah, would you mind pulling up your exhibit? Because it kind of explains the parcels.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the very beginning.
Oh, yeah, just the introduction one would have been fine.
Perfect.
So the subject property shown here, sir, basically is the parcel that we had to base all of our calculations on. This goes back to the original way.
Please speak into the microphone. You can address us.
Sorry,
go right
apologies.
ahead.
So the subject property shown on this map is what we had to base all of our calculations on. This is the portion of the Washingtonian Rio that on which we sit. So the calculations are relative to everything you see here. The not really much of the shore, but more some of the green space, the parkland, the area around, and it's just a result of where this was located. It wasn't an active choice. It's just immediately adjacent to the restaurant.
So just to be clear, when we're talking about green space and open space and all that, we're actually not looking at the property as, you know, the development writ large. We're looking at everything within the red boundary, which is basically almost all green space and walkways. Is that correct?
That is a correct statement.
So we're subtracting this, 1,000 square feet out of, multiple acres. That's basically all green space.
Out of 30,000 square feet.
So it's important to understand to all of us who think of the Rio Washingtonian as one big entity. For this purposes, it's a lake and a park.
All right. Not any further questions before we go to our opening of records? If not, then Planning Commission, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The staff is doing initial public hearing, obviously, needs a little time to review, so we would like, our staff has asked us to keep the record open, make a motion to hold the record open until 5 p.m. on May 31st, 2023, it's 31 days from now. The anticipated recommendation of the mayor and council tentatively scheduled for June 7th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And our recommendations that we hold, Mayor and City Council hold their record open until 5 p.m. on June 14th, with anticipated policy discussion tentatively scheduled for July 3rd. What is the pleasure of the council?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, our record is open now until June 14th. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, and appreciated planning commissioners. Next on our agenda is from the mayor and city council, and we're going to start with Councilmember Wu.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Wow, May has a lot of things to celebrate, I guess. So let's celebrate our older Americans, APA Heritage Month, Historic Preservation. It's also Military Appreciation Month. I don't know if you do that. So I can celebrate my military heritage and half of my genealogy. It's also Ryan, Happy Law Day. And comrades, Happy May Day. I don't have anything else.
Okay. I mean, we could have done proclamations for all of those, but we would still be doing proclamations. Neil.
Thank you, Mayor. So over the last couple of weeks, I attended some great events and meetings. We had the celebration of the one-year anniversary of our city's Financial Empowerment Center. Got to visit their offices over at 12 South Summit, which is catty corner from where we sit. And very impressive event, and the group is doing great work, which we saw at a recent meeting. Also attended the Business and Economic Development Committee's monthly meeting, where we had a presentation from the developers who are looking to upgrade the Walnut Hill Shopping Center. They're looking to annex it into the city and make some significant improvements. And they announced that they have not only brought in a tentative anchor gas station of Sheetz, but they've signed a tentative agreement with Aldi to provide a new supermarket for that end of town, which I know the residents are really looking forward to. So the plans look great, and the group is drafting a memo supporting the project for us that we will see sometime soon. Also attended the monthly Transportation Planning Board meeting. Nothing particular of note to report there. And that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. We'll go to Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A number of events over the last couple of weeks that I also wanted to mention. On April 19th, we were honored to have the governor here in Gaithersburg for his very first stop after the legislative session. His first stop as governor to promote and draw attention to a large rooftop residential solar project here in Gaithersburg. And it was a great event. A number of us attended, and an opportunity to bring the county, state, federal representatives, business, nonprofit organizations, and residents together to celebrate the ability to successfully pursue these types of projects. And I know that my colleagues probably have more details and more to say about the project, so I won't say too much other than we were very excited to have the governor here. Thanks to the county executive and the county council president for their remarks at the event. Want to particularly call out Council President Evan Glass for recognizing the partnership with the city of Gaithersburg on a lot of fronts, and recognizing our recently named status as the most diverse city in America. And it was just a wonderful opportunity to showcase our city as part of this event and showcase our state and our community's commitment to environmentalism and clean energy. And for those who aren't familiar with the organization, the Montgomery County Green Bank, I would encourage you to learn more about the Montgomery County Green Bank, which is an important organization that helped finance the project and probably has resources to finance other projects in the area for those who are interested in pursuing those. A few of us also attended an event at Gaithersburg Middle School on April 20th, hosted by Learning Undefeated, which is a nonprofit organization that provides these portable learning lab spaces, which they call breakout boxes, for week-long stretches or several-day stretches at different schools, an opportunity to essentially bring a field trip to the students instead of having them travel somewhere else. And we got to check out the breakout box and play around inside it. And it was sort of like an escape room using science to solve puzzles. And we could see how it would be such an engaging and wonderful experience for our students to learn about science. So kudos to them. We also, some of us attended a virtual chapter meeting of the Montgomery County chapter of the Maryland Municipal League that week. Our guest speaker was the head of the Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, who gave a little presentation on what they are up to and ways that municipalities can work with them. On April 25th, I had a meeting with our staff, Tom Lonergan-Seeger and Kevin Roman. We went to the county's housing department to meet with the County Commission on Common Ownership Communities, just to introduce ourselves and to let them introduce themselves to us and talk a little bit about ways that we can work together now that the city has joined the county's Commission on Common Ownership Communities, and how we can make the best use of their services to mediate disputes between individual unit owners and common ownership boards and property managers, somewhat akin to the way our Commission on Landlord-Tenant Affairs operates with folks who rent. So we're looking forward to working with them, and raised a few concerns, and they were very receptive, and so I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to make sure that those residents and common ownership communities who fall under the jurisdiction of the County Commission will be able to utilize its services. On April 27th and 28th, we hosted the Chief Rabbi of Uganda, who is traveling around DC and Baltimore area synagogues, came to the Shari Torah synagogue here in Gaithersburg, and I had the opportunity to present him with a proclamation during a Friday gathering and religious service, and that was really cool. We wish him well. Neil already mentioned the event on April 27th to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of our Financial Empowerment Center. Many of you know a topic near and dear to my heart, but it was really great to see so many partners in government, in the nonprofit sector, in the business world, coming together to support this vision for how we can provide such an important service to our community, and how it's really an excellent and innovative model that I hope other communities and maybe even countywide or statewide they decide to adopt. We saw incredible data through the real-time platform that the Financial Empowerment Center is using to really see the impacts, the real-world concrete impacts of the work they're doing in terms of the actual specific dollar amount of debt reduced, the specific dollar amount of savings increased for their hundreds of clients in the first year alone. And so it's really promising. And we also heard some wonderful testimonials from individual clients who were able to buy a first house or send a kid to college or pay down debt or increase their credit rating, and so many other great results. So keep up the great work, and congratulations to everyone involved in that. Finally, today, our friends at the Pleasant View Historic Site, which is on Darnestown Road, just over the border of the city limits, so technically not within the city, but they have been working for the last few years to restore a historic site there with a church and a one-room schoolhouse, which many of you may have driven past many times, which is a place which has an incredible history and story about the first community of formerly enslaved people after the Civil War who started a free African-American community. Obviously, at that time, were unable to send their kids to the public schools and started their own school for black children, so that the building is still there. Was in horrible disrepair, unfortunately, for a number of years, but our friend Jason Green, whose family has been very involved in leading that community for many generations, he made that film, Finding Fellowship, which a number of us have seen and which some city events have promoted, talking about the history of that community, and helped raise funds to restore and maintain these historic buildings on the site. And today, Congressman Trone and Senator Van Hollen and Senator Cardin from our federal delegation visited the site, toured the construction work that is underway to restore these properties, and delivered a check from the community funding program of the federal government for almost $1 million to help the costs of restoring the site. So it was a really wonderful event, and many of the elders and leaders and trustees of the Historical Association and of the church, including the pastor who is Jason's dad, were there and told some amazing stories, including a 99-year-old World War II vet who was there and told stories of his time in the community, and a 104-year-old woman who remembered being in school in the one-room schoolhouse. So it was really incredible. And as many of you out there know, and of course everybody here on the dais knows, our new city park, Pleasant View Park, is named in honor of the Pleasant View community. And I'm hoping that we'll have some kind of historical markers or information in our park to tell folks a little bit about the history of the name of the park and connect it to this other site nearby. Of course, the big news, the big political news today is that Senator Cardin announced this morning that he will not be seeking re-election to the U.S. Senate next year, and so it was sort of interesting timing that he happened to be visiting Gaithersburg after that news broke. But I just want to say, I'm sure I speak for everybody here when I say we wish him very well. We thank him for his incredible service to our country and our state. He's still going to be around serving as a U.S. Senator for another 1.5 or 2 years. But he's just been a wonderful leader, and we look forward to finishing strong with him and wishing him a great retirement in a 1.5, 2 years. And then finally, I want to wish our friends at Manna Food Center happy 40th anniversary, which they are celebrating today. Thank you.
Ryan, would you mind reading the formal now, the after closed executive session?
Not at all. A closed executive session was held by the Mayor and City Council on Monday, April 17th, 2023 at approximately 9:30 p.m. pursuant to a motion adopted unanimously. The session was proposed to be closed pursuant to the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, Section 3-305B3, to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related thereto. The topic discussed was a property acquisition to address city space needs. Present at the meeting were Mayor Ashman, council members Harris, Henderson, McNulty, Spiegel, and Wu, and staff present were City Manager Briley, City Attorney Board, and Deputy City Manager Enslinger. Upon conclusion of the discussion, the closed meeting was adjourned at approximately 9:38 p.m.
Thank you. We'll go to Lisa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended many of the events that Councilmember Spiegel has already mentioned. I do want to add, though, to the solar panel partnership that those solar panels were put on a low-income multifamily apartment complex. There were 52 buildings, and they are set to, and this is real dollars, set to save $300,000 annually for that entire community. That's a testament to affordable housing. So that's really, and it's was the largest project in Montgomery County, and I think in the governor may have said in the state of Maryland.
Said possibly the state. Yeah, right.
Possibly the state. Also, I attended, I had a great time at Forest Oak Middle School, elementary school, sorry, with a group of 7-year-olds, and I am not smarter than a 7-year-old. We planted a tree, red oak, for Arbor Day. It was a lot of fun. So I want to thank Principal Smith, Dr. Smith, for hosting us, and the city also received from Maryland Department of Natural Resources and the Arbor Day Foundation. The city was designated as a Tree City USA for the 34th consecutive year. So that was very exciting. And I want to wish everyone a happy all days, including Cinco de Mayo. Kentucky Derby's coming up, so happy Kentucky Derby. And for the largest retail day of the year, happy Mother's Day. And I'm going to read an announcement. Gaithersburg residents will cast their ballots for 3 city council members on Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. The city is conducting a hybrid election for 2023. All registered voters will receive a mail-in ballot application. Applications can be returned via USPS, United States Postal Service, drop off at City Hall, or completed electronically. 1 vote center will be located at the Activity Center at Boyd Park for in-person voting. In addition, there will be 7 ballot drop boxes located throughout the city. Early voting sessions will be held at the Activity Center on Sunday, October 29th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Voter Center will be open on Election Day, Tuesday, November 7th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. For complete election information, go to www.gaithersburgmd.gov/elections. Or contact Elections Clerk Lauren Klinger at 240-805-1087 or email cityelections@gaithersburgmd.gov.
Thank you, Lisa. We'll go to Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to welcome Junior Mayor Abdo. I hope that she finds it a fun and memorable experience, and we look forward to seeing you and your family at city events over the next year. I also want to extend our congratulations to our city clerk office and to Doris in particular for her recognition, well-deserved recognition. I know we mentioned something last time, and we'll probably continue to do this until Doris's retirement, but and I think Council Vice President Henderson said this last time, just the assistance that Doris gave to myself and to Lisa as we were onboarding and becoming elected officials and learning what that meant and how to do that job and not look like an idiot sitting up here. Hopefully we've been not looking like idiots up here. But a lot of that was just due to kind of the hand-holding and really, helping us along the way. So truly appreciated. May is, among many things that we've already acknowledged, is also Mental Health Awareness Month. I've spoken many times here about my experience with trauma and the work that I do with trauma survivors. In the past year, I personally have lost a friend to suicide. And I found out that a family member just this past week lost another friend to suicide. So while I feel like the the conversation has become more frequent. People are talking about it more. There is still a stigma. It is still difficult for people to seek help. So, I encourage everybody to just look around in your circles, and if, somebody seems off, just reach out. Don't regret that you wish you had said something. 988 is the new crisis line. So if somebody just needs somebody to talk to, there's always somebody available. There's always somebody ready to listen. So I just wanted to make sure that that I got an opportunity to say that as well. I had an opportunity to attend a number of the same events that you've already heard. If you want to see some fun pictures, check out my Twitter page. In fact, Council Vice President Henderson and I were just tagged in an image from Learning Undefeated today, which was a lot of fun. But really just congratulations to them for the work that they're doing, to AstraZeneca, the partner, for really just the work that they're doing to inspire the next generation of scientists. And it's Learning Undefeated is a Gaithersburg company, and really appreciate the work that they're doing. I attended the Cultural Arts Advisory Committee. Part of that conversation was surrounding art in public places, and we reviewed or the committee reviewed and voted its approval for a new mural painted by Rafael Blanco. He is an artist from Alicante, Spain. And if you've been over to the Rio, you may have seen it going up. It's on the side wall of the Barnes & Noble near Target. It's absolutely gorgeous. Also on my Twitter page, you can see a picture. Actually, Councilmember Spiegel was out there as well this weekend. And it's a beautiful piece of art, still ongoing, but incorporated into it are some Easter eggs from Gaithersburg, specifically from the Rio property. So I encourage you next time you're out the Rio to check it out. It's really quite something. I also want to mention the Seneca Village Apartments solar project. It was great to see the governor and our state and county delegations there to celebrate that. It turns out that the solar provider was actually one of my day job clients, so that was a nice coincidence. But as Council Vice President Henderson said, the fact that this was being done at an equity emphasis area for lower income people, and this was one of those public-private partnerships where it was the management company, the owner of the apartment complex, that saw the value, not just as far as providing green energy, but providing cost certainty to their residents, and they'll be saving money in the long run. So it's really great when those two interests can come together with such an important project here in Gaithersburg. And it was, like I said, it was good to see the governor back here in Gaithersburg. And finally, I'll read an announcement. Gaithersburg residents will cast their ballots for 3 city council members, as you just heard, on Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. Candidate packets will be released on Thursday, May 11th. Packets can be picked up at City Hall by appointment or accessed on the city's election website. Mandatory candidate training sessions will be held on Tuesday, May 16th and Tuesday, August 15th. Candidates are required to register and attend one of the sessions. The deadline for candidates to file is Thursday, August 24th by 5 p.m. For additional information or to register for training, please contact Elections Clerk Lauren Klingler at 240-805-1087 or cityelections@gaithersburgmd.gov. For complete election information, go to www.gaithersburgmd.gov/elections. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Jim. Thank everyone for everything they shared. I just want to give one quick reminder that the book festival is less than 3 weeks away. Saturday, May 20th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. As if on cue, Neil puts on his Gaithersburg Book Festival hat, which I appreciate. Fantastic lineup of authors and programs here for you. Free to attend, free to park, fun for everybody. All the details, including the schedules, now up at GaithersburgBookFestival.org. And follow us on Facebook and on Twitter for more information as well. And with that, I will note that we have a work session next Monday. Please join us, May 8th, 7:30 p.m. to receive legislative wrap-ups from our district's 1739 state delegations. We will also be recognizing delegates Kumar Barve and Kirill Resnick for their service as they have decided to take appointments into the administration of the Public Service Commission. So you can participate just as now in person or over Zoom. And same thing for the next regular meeting of the Mayor and Council, which will be on Monday, May 15th. And that will be the last meeting before the book festival. So you will certainly hear me talking about the book festival at that meeting as well. And I will move on now from the city manager.
Thank you. I have nothing to report this evening, Your Honor.
Okay. We will go on to economic development update. Tom Lonergan Seeger.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. I'll make up for that. A few things to mention to you tonight. Happening now at National Harbor, the Select USA Investment Summit is the top event in the United States for promotion of foreign direct investment. The summit does connect investors, companies, economic development organizations, and industry experts from around the globe. What's the goal? To seize every opportunity available to make foreign investment deals happen here in the U.S. This year, our friends at the Maryland Department of Commerce and the county's office of the County Executive's Office hosted an official Select USA spin-off tour. Last Friday, 40 representatives from international companies and agencies hopped on a bus for a tour of biotech facilities here in the 270 corridor, but focused a lot here in Gaithersburg. The route included a tour of facilities on Watkins Mill Road, Clopper, First Field, and Quince Orchard Roads, as well as AstraZeneca with lunch at the National Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. It was from Germantown to Silver Spring, but we do know that Gaithersburg was the highlight. Wanted to thank our partners at the state and the county for organizing the event, and a special thanks to Larry Diamond with Alexandria Real Estate Equities. If you don't know him by now, he is with the largest landlord of biotech-ready spaces here in the city. Late breaking news, I think you knew this. Wanted to mention that IKEA has inked a pair of Greater Washington leases for yet another new urban format concept, which appear to be the first of their kind in the United States. The Swedish furniture giant will open, in quotes, plan and order points with pickup at Fairfax Corner in Fairfax and Rio, right here in Gaithersburg, both Peterson Company-owned developments. The Gaithersburg store will span about 8,800 feet and could open later this year. The news of these stores follows IKEA's announcement in March that it would open a plan and order location this summer at Pentagon Center in Pentagon City. In the case of both concepts, customers can visit the store to meet with an IKEA employee for home furnishing design and planning. The difference comes after the purchase. Anything bought from the Pentagon City location must be shipped to the customer's home or business. Items bought from the IKEA stores in Fairfax and here in Gaithersburg can be picked up at the store. I'll let you know more about these plans after I connect with our friends at Peterson to learn more. Thirdly and finally, it's very brief, I do want to give a shout out to a student at Wooten High School, a staff writer at the Wooten Common Sense, which is the school's official newspaper, for his recent alliterative but awesome headline, Shake Shack Shimmies into Kentlands. It's opening this Wednesday at 10 o'clock in Kentlands. The teens are as excited as I am. See you there. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Shake Shack Shimmies, I like it. David Castillo, I'm going to call you up, and because next we're moving into ordinances, resolutions, and regulations, and we're going to authorize our consolidated plan, and I'll let you say the rest because it's a mouthful.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Before I get going, my new colleague here, Maureen Walker, started with us in November, and so she's been a wonderful help with me and with community services and the neighborhood services staff, and she's gotten to meet Frank a lot. Frank's been very helpful, and so she's been a great asset to us and has done a lot of work on helping me and us with the consolidated plan.
Welcome, Maureen.
Thank you.
She comes to us from Frederick, and prior to working with the city of Gaithersburg, she was with a nonprofit that helped homeless youth. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So again, I'm glad she's here to have a colleague to work with.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
in
Good
addition
to
to
be
Tom. Yeah. So good evening, Mayor and City Council members. This is an item to discuss the city's draft consolidated plan and the FY23 action plan. The specific actions for you to consider tonight is a resolution authorizing the city manager to submit the necessary documents to the U.S. Department of Housing and Development for their approval. I've got a short presentation to take us through the consolidated plan and the associated FY23 action plan. Consolidated plan contains the following components: a number of sections that describe the city's housing and community development needs. It's also sections that describes goals, strategies, and programs to meet these identified needs. This year's efforts have benefited from our past experiences as well, in addition to the data and all the feedback we've gotten from the community. We'll talk about the process that we've taken to draft the consolidated plan, the action plan, and again about the submission to both of these documents to the U.S. Department of Housing and Development. And we'll try to answer any questions you might have at the end. The City of Gaithers Consolidated Plan covers a 5-year period. In this case, it's from 2023 until 2028. This plan more holistically describes the housing and community development needs, demographic information, housing information, and related conditions. We've supplemented the census information with other data and from work that we've already completed through the city's housing element, and it's the work with the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, the Fair Housing Plan. This information helps us make recommendations that are more data-driven while also reflecting the values that make the city a wonderful place to live, work, learn, shop, and play. Drafting a consolidated plan has also benefited from the information collected from and dialogue with the community. This feedback's helped us determine priorities on what more specific housing solutions are both needed and appropriate. Finally, consolidated plans are implemented and carried out through 1-year action plans. The draft consolidated plan before you contains the FY23 action plan. This 1-year action plan describes specific activities and resources to implement the consolidated plan. The next several slides I'm going to go through summarize several of the needs identified and discussed in the consolidated plan. This summary highlights both what the data shows and feedback we've received from the community. And here's a short summary. Renters are most cost burdened and they're disproportionately Black and Hispanic, more than homeowners. Renters, especially those with low and fixed incomes, have the most acute needs. Homeowners are less of a concern, but there's still almost 1 in 3 of them have a cost burden, and I'll talk a little bit more about that further on in the presentation. Gaithersburg's got a significant population earning relatively low wages. 1 in 4 households earns less than $50,000 per year. We also saw data that was presented through the housing element that there are shortages present for most households earning less than $40,000 per year, but also for moderate income households that are in that $80,000 to $120,000 range. And finally, our community services colleagues remind us there's a continuing need for services to help people remain in their current homes, including from being evicted or seeking to improve their housing situations. And this is especially true for low and very low income renters. Here's a summary that shows how the city's housing supply matches with the incomes of the households. It combines 3 sources of income and housing data, price data, to show both the apparent gaps and some of the oversupply of units for the 7 income ranges shown here. As one might expect, there are shortages of homes for households earning low incomes less than $40,000 a year, and an apparent oversupply of homes for households with higher incomes. What's interesting is also the apparent gap in homes priced for households in the moderate income range or earning from $80,000 to $120,000. And as you can see from this graphic, if you look, the summary is really in the bottom row along where you've got the figures in the, I guess it's the purple, which show the deficits or lack of housing supply, and in the green where there's apparent oversupply. One standard definition of housing affordability is where households should spend no more than 30% of their income on rent or mortgage plus utilities and taxes and other related expenses. This map shows where renter households are spending more than 30% of their income on rents, as well as what proportion of the households in each census tract that make up that city spend more than this amount. As we can see, a significant part of the city has areas where over half the renters are paying more than 30% of their income on rent plus utilities. Citywide, about 50% or 1 in 2 renters cross this threshold or pay more than 30% of their income on rent utilities. Even more acute are instances where there are 1 in 4 renters pay more than 50% of their income on rent and utilities. From the other three planning efforts, for all three planning efforts, the housing element, the regional fair housing plan, and now the consolidated plan, the cities received great feedback from stakeholder groups and individuals on both the housing needs and potential solutions. This slide summarizes the preference for increased homeownership, barriers to homeownership, how to overcome barriers to homeownership and what they are, and how the city can do to help. In response to what the data also shows us, there's a desire for an increased supply and more affordable options, both rental and ownership. An important portion of a new supply would be the inclusion of the moderately priced dwelling units, the MPDUs, and also the workforce housing units. This is developments that are more than 20 units, and 15% of the total number of homes for those would be for those households earning those lower and medium wages. The feedback shown on this slide is from the surveys collected from our community services staff at Wells and DeSelem House and from Gaithersburg Elementary School parents. When asked to choose the top 2 most pressing needs, affordability of housing and eviction prevention was chosen by nearly 80% or more of the respondents. When asked to rank which consolidated plan objectives and outcomes are most important, we received the following feedback. Affordable home ownership and housing preservation were top choices, closely followed by assisting persons at risk of becoming homeless. Respondents also ranked supporting persons with special needs, deconcentrating affordable housing, and improving the safety and livability of neighborhoods. Not surprisingly, at the bottom of the slide, when asked how CDBG funds should be spent, the single largest response was to spend funds on affordable housing, including rent assistance. The draft goals came from the sources I just talked about. Oops, this is the feedback from the community, data from the consolidated plan and related efforts, including the city's housing element and the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments Fair Housing Plan, and then our own experiences with the programs that we've been operating for a number of years. The combination of data, stakeholder feedback, and resident feedback, and the city's programmatic experiences, and here's what the goals are. I'll just read them off here because they're pretty straightforward. First is to increase the availability of affordable home ownership to low and moderate income residents. Second is to help low and moderate income owners to preserve, repair, and upgrade their existing homes. Third, support seniors and persons with special needs. Fourth, to help tenants from being evicted from their homes and other persons who are at risk of becoming homeless. Fifth, increase affordable housing throughout the city, especially in high opportunity areas. And lastly, improve the livability of the neighborhoods. So now we've provided a bit of an overview, a quick overview of the consolidated plan. I'm going to spend some focus on the FY23 action plan, or how the city would spend $464,995 in federal community development block grant funds. The CDBG program is a federal grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Development. The CDBG program has been part of HUD's programs to help urban areas since the 1970s. It helps communities address housing community development needs of its low and moderate income residents. Because Gaithersburg has been defined as an entitlement community since 2003, it receives CDBG funds based on a formula. The formula is based on several factors, including population, levels of income, and housing condition. These are U.S. Census information. And finally, most of the CDBG funds are spent in urban areas. So this slide is a quick overview of what the recommendations are. The majority of the funds would help people purchase their first home in the city or help them improve their home, condominium, or townhouse that they already own. And the total is a little bit over $300,000 of the $464,995. Funds would also help prevent evictions and possible homelessness. And then the city is allowed to spend 20% of its fund on administration and planning activities like this one we're doing right now. We'll go a little bit of detail of each of these recommendations. The Gaithersburg Homebuyer Assistance Loan Program is one of the city's core housing programs. The GALP deferred payment loans are up to $12,000 or up to $25,000 depending on location, either the standard area or the opportunity area. It's helped approximately over 350 families call Gaithersburg home. And I didn't put this on the slide, but I had Maureen help with some statistics. The average income of the CDBG-funded GALP loans is around $63,378 on average per household. The average home price is $280,879. The average GALP loan is about $18,559. About 82% of the GALP loans have been made to Black, Hispanic, and Hispanic white households, and about 18% have gone to Asian white and white households. And another sort of a factor of how the Opportunity Standard Area works, 77% of the CDBG funded GALP loans have been in the opportunity areas or outside census tracts with the concentrations of low-income households. So it's been successful in that way. Homeowner rehab. The plan for this program is to provide grant funds to help make homes more energy efficient, which could also help the owner save money from lower utility bills. The funds would also be used to make homes more accessible, allowing people to age in place. The funds would also be used to address any code violations to improve the home's living conditions. We'd hoped to get this program started earlier, but I'm happy to report that it's currently out for bid, and the bids are due on May 14th. We've had several inquiries on this program. We hope to have an organization implementing this program on the city's behalf soon. Potential bidders include groups like the Housing Initiative Partnership, Habitat for Humanity Montgomery County, and Rebuilding Together. Post-COVID rent increases have heightened the need for this program for low-income renters. The city provides CDBG funds for short-term emergency rental assistance. The short-term assistance pays for up to 3 months' rent and includes access to services such as the Financial Empowerment Center. Households that the city's assisted are earning less than $35,000 per year with an average rent of $1,500 per month and an average payment around $3,400 per household. The HUD caps this amount of CDBG funds that can be used for this purpose at 15% of the grant, which is why this amount is at $69,000. Now that most of the COVID funding's been spent, there's even more pressure on this program. Finally, planning administration. The city, we can spend up to 20% of the grant fund on program administering the program. These administrative tasks include conducting planning activities like the consolidated plan and action plan process. Most of the funds cover staff costs that include housing and community service division staff. Public feedback. We've completed a range of public outreach and engagement activities to help obtain community feedback and to produce the draft consolidated plan and action plan. We held 2 public meetings on April 19th, one in the day, one in the evening. The draft consolidated plan and action plan have been available for review since April 4th at 2 public libraries, the Activity Center at Boer Park, and City Hall. The city's website also has an online survey on the consolidated plan FY23 action plan to provide feedback. And as we mentioned earlier, community services staff distributed surveys, and we got feedback from Wells and DeSalem House as well as Gaithersburg Elementary parents. The plan will be out for public review for a 30-day period. Comment periods on May 5th, this Friday at 5 o'clock. We've compiled feedback we've received to date, and we'll record it in the consolidated plan that ultimately gets submitted to HUD. This concludes the presentation. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you very much. Neil.
What happens to the income that this program generates, to loan repayments and whatever other income there might be? Does that come back to the city budget? Does it get circulated back into more loans?
It does, that's correct. So we get loan repayments from the GALP program, and so in fact we got a notice today that we've got some payment coming back, and that income, the loan comes back to the city, And then the way the HUD rules work is that we have to spend it on whatever the first expenses are, so that let's say if we get a GALP loan repayment that's got CDBG funds in it, we have to spend those CDBG monies first on whatever expenses come up first. And often case it is another GALP loan, but sometimes it might be administrative expenses. It could be an emergency assistance, or it could be some admin costs. But you're right, those monies do come back to us and they go back out.
Lisa.
Thank you. David, thank you for the presentation. Just a question on packet page 238. What's the difference between housing preservation and assist homeless persons at risk of becoming homeless? Or is it preserving a home the same as to prevent homelessness?
I think this is how we worded the question. I think it's really a combination of, it could be the emergency assistance program, it could be providing a lower cost apartment, it could be providing services that help people from eviction prevention. Again, like the FEC, I know community services staff do some counseling. If somebody comes in to apply for emergency assistance, they get they apply for that emergency assistance, but they also get services that come with that. So it's a combination of activities, financial and services.
Okay, so ultimately though, to stay in the home?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. Great work as always. Generally, a great plan. I just wanted to highlight, in terms of the decision as to how to break down the funds available under the CDBG, I recall from our recent discussions during the budget work sessions, it's my understanding that under the CDBG rules, there are sort of caps on the amounts that we can allocate to certain categories of service or program. And so, for example, with emergency assistance, we have this number 69,000. If somebody's watching from home, they might say, why didn't we put more towards that particular bucket within the plan? I just want to give you all the opportunity to sort of explain a little bit about what the rules are in the federal CDBG program and why they place certain caps on certain categories of spending.
Yeah, in terms of the rule that we have to follow in this amount, this $69,000 should be, if our math is correct, 15% of the total grant amount. It doesn't include any program income, but it's 15% of the grant amount. That was a statutory something that Congress did when they created this program. And I know in these conversations we were having, we had some other funding and other programs that we wanted to get. We knew this demand was coming, and we asked HUD, from a couple of sources, can we put more money into emergency assistance? And the answer was no. You really, if you can change Congress's mind, you can get more money into this program. But
all right, noted. We just have to change Congress's mind.
No. Trust me. I think we've all felt that we've certainly at a staff level, and I'm sure in the community, we felt pressure to put more funds in there. And but this is the reason why it's at $69,000, and it is a cap, and it's any kind of public service. So this recommendation is to put all of this public service money into the emergency assistance program.
Okay, thanks. I think it was just important to kind of reiterate the explanation for the benefit of the public. And are there similar caps that apply to any of the other buckets or categories that we are using here?
Yeah, so the planning administration, that $92,000, that's 20% of the grant amount as well, and we're typically, what I know from historically, we've spent that and sometimes more, and that's where the city.
Can't go past 20%.
Oh, we can't, exactly.
Correct.
We shall not go past 20% of this.
Thank you, Dave.
It's a ceiling.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions, or would someone like to move the resolution?
I'd like to move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, Brian Fields.
He's been very patient.
Yeah, appreciate your patience.
Good evening. I'll be very brief. This item is a resolution to authorize the city manager to amend the city's current contract with Lighting Maintenance Incorporated, LMI, for street lighting maintenance and repair, to extend the contract for up to 2 years and to provide an annual CPI adjustment. So LMI is currently in the 5th and final year of their contract, which expires on June 30th, 2023. Contract covers a range of routine streetlight maintenance repair services, has an approximate annual expenditure of $160,000. So our LMI's maintenance contract does not include the city's LED conversion project. That is also under contract, separate contract with LMI. That program is entering year 4 of a 5-year program. So this proposed 2-year extension of the maintenance contract will align its termination with the completion of the LED conversion program. So both contracts would be under LMI and they would terminate at the same time in 2 years. This provides several advantages, one of which would be it eliminates the potential for conflicts between dueling contractors working on our streetlights at the same time. As far as the CPI adjustment, the current contract was executed in 2018, did not include any provisions for any cost increases. No adjustments have been made since 2018. So city staff and LMI negotiated as part of this contract amendment to provide a CPI adjustment for the first year of 6.5%, which was the actual CPI for 2022. And then in the second year of the contract, a CPI adjustment would be available based on the actual 2023 CPI. The FY24 streetlight maintenance budget was planned in anticipation of a contract price increase. This extension, including the CPI adjustments, are expected to provide the streetlight maintenance services that we need within our program budget. That concludes my presentation. Be glad to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
But just for clarification, and I think I saw this in the background materials, even though the CPI increase was negotiated for these 2 additional years, it doesn't change the overall annual spending cap on the contract.
That's correct.
And I assume you're happy with the vendor, or you wouldn't be coming back to us for more, right?
That's correct.
Okay, I'd like to move the resolution.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Brian. Again, appreciate your patience. From the city attorney.
I don't have anything, but glad to be here tonight.
Glad to have you with us, Frank.
Thank you.
Anybody else from city staff? Okay. Then I will remind everyone you're invited to join us next week for our work session. Here we go. Where we are going to have updates from our legislative district 1739 delegations and recognize delegates Kumar Barve and Kirill Resnick for their service. And the next regular meeting of the Mayor and Council will be on Monday, May 15th. Take a look at the Book Festival website for all the information, gaithersburgbookfestival.org. And until next time, let's do great things, Gaithersburg. We are adjourned.